I mean, I'm like basically done with this. I mean, yeah, it's all whatever colored up and all that jazz. It's got the whatever the hole for the dowel. I mean, you could do the dowel. You could do the dowel, a piece of metal, some if you wanted to give it some weight. I like to do it just for alignment purposes. Actually,
I don't know how difficult it would be, but could you show us how to make it like an empty container with like a screw lid?
100%.
Is that
I'm glad you asked. I love adding threading. Let's see here. So I'm gonna actually delete that whole, and then following it out's really easy. Shell command. Actually, shit, I don't like that. So you choose set shell thickness, and sometimes it doesn't like some 0.01. Damn it, it's not like it. All right, let's.
Could you do like a point like 0.00, or like is it about?
Well, yeah, you could, but I'm a 0.01. No, see, it's not like in. I can fix that. It's not like in this little intersect point right here, which I think I can fix. Let's sneak in here by adding a little radius pointer on. Come on. Oh, liking that at all. Okay, well, instead of hollowing it out, I'm just gonna go through and do quick. Well, yeah, I mean it's gonna hollow it out mostly, but do a quick sketch, activate that one back up, and then I'm just gonna offset this sketch right here using the offset command. Uh, that's because that's yeah. So let me convert these entities into this. Oh, oops, I'm on the right sketch plane. Convert that, put that in. Actually, I can go through and highlight these and convert them in like that. Shut off this sketch. The trim lets you go through and trim that, so I'll do that. Offset again. Then, oh,
Why is it so Oh, there we go. Hello?
hey Uber, we're all watching the stream. It's a recorded stream, so keep that in mind.
Ah,
one. Uh, it's liking me, come on. Actually, it might be easier just go through and trace, approximate the shell. So then what I can do is I can.
So I've got a question. When you were tracing that along the lines
Yep.
to go parallel, was that like a key command you had to hit to make it go parallel, or was that the software automatically setting
So
it to be parallel?
this one it likes it. If I hover over a line, it wants to make it. You can see how it's highlighted orange like that. It wants to add kind of like a smart, like you can see when it highlights yellow like that, that's adding it parallel, and it wants to do that most of the time. The kind of the rule of thumb when model when doing shit like that is like don't assume that it wants to do it. But I've done it enough to know that like 90% of the time it wants to make it parallel or whatever it wants to make it parallel to the thing right next to it. So I just do it. I don't click on it to make it parallel. I just assume that it does. But I mean, you can see that it actually. If you click on this, you can see that little icon right there. That means it's parallel, and you can see that shows up on all these. So it made them all parallel, even though I didn't go through and like click on the thing to make it parallel.
Okay, gotcha.
holy
Thank
crap.
you.
It's easier than I thought it would be.
What was that? Sorry, my earbuds like acting like shit.
Oh, I'm just saying it looks way easier than I imagined it would be.
I'm sorry. My I could you say that one more time?
I said it looks way easier than I imagined it would be.
Dude, 3D CAD is so it's literally so easy compared to like if you're going through and having to learn Blender and all that. Like I really I mean not anything against people learning Blender, but like 3D CAD, like that's what I started off doing. Like I literally got into 3D CAD just because like one day I was like, oh let me whatever I want to make a lightsaber, and now that's what I do for my full time job is like do CAD stuff. I mean I don't make props full time, but like CAD stuff in a for a plant. And it's like it literally is so easy, and I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say so easy. It really is easy to get into, and I wish a lot of people knew that. But yeah, I don't remember who I don't have actually. Let me just minimize Discord so I can see people in it. I don't know who asked how to hollow it, but I did hollow it out. You can see it's got that whatever point 0.1 wall thickness on it. Actually, I'll do a section view on that.
Are you gonna make it twist open or something?
Ah, yes, that's what it was. That's what it was. And actually, I gotta do that revolve merge with all. So
Grenade models I use all have like threads.
a lot of them do. I don't. Onshape doesn't have a dedicated thread making like whatever where it's got the preset threads, but there is a way to make
I was
threads.
gonna say I think you'd probably use Fusion 360 for that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Fusion. Well, so Fusion 360 can do threads, and I like that. And I used to use it for doing threads and stuff. Well, not necessarily just for doing threads, but there's some specific thread types, like the Acme thread works really good with 3D printing, just because instead of being like a radial uh, thread, it's more of like an angular one, and that works really good. Um, what I'm gonna do is go through and just add a it's
Mic
just
off.
add kind of like a twist to well I'll show it in a second. First I'm going to extrude a little bit of material just so I have uh let's see do right there. Just so I have something to add the thread to because right now it's just split in half and it's not one to center that. Add that to that. So extrude that out.
Yeah, the only other time I saw somebody try to demonstrate this stuff, they were like, it just reminded me of like going into college courses that I wasn't prepared for. So I'm like, oh wow, what did I miss? All of it.
Yeah, I went to school for CAD, so I've taken a lot of college. Well, not maybe a lot, like half a dozen college courses on CAD or classes on CAD, and some of them, like once you start getting into like the two or three advanced courses, it gets that way. But I mean, it really like with simple models like these grenades and whatnot, they're really not that bad at all to try to hop into and do. But for basically what I'm doing for a thread is I'm gonna go through and add a helix to this one surface right here, and I'm just gonna do one rotation. So that's gonna be the thread path. So you're only gonna have like you twist it 360 degrees clockwise, and it will come whatever the thread will be done. Just so because I've noticed that
Very cool.
those lower pitch threads work a lot better with printing. And
Uh,
then
Good for printing, but the problem I guess is handling prop. It's
yeah,
a trade
yeah,
off.
yeah, for the higher pitch, yeah, for the lower or yeah, lower pitch threads, you know, they unscrew a lot easier, which obviously if you're carrying a prop all day and it slowly unscrews itself, you know, that could be bad. But you could also make a tighter interference of the threads so that it's a more of a friction fit of the threads rather than a loose fit. And
Mhm.
that might help a little bit more. But and the cool thing with because if you do like a thread in like Fusion 360 or whatever, you're set to choose. Well, most of the time you're set to choose a particular thread style. So, like I was saying, the Acme, or I mean, there's literally a million different styles of threading. But with obviously this program doesn't have a dedicated thread software, so I'm making my own, but that means I can make my own whatever the profile that I want the thread to come out as. So I'm just going to do a half circle. Well, by half circle, I mean I draw a circle and then it'll extrude it as a half circle, which will show in a second. So I'll just convert that feature,
I'm
add
gonna
that.
finally install my definitely legit copy of Fusion 360 and mess with Onshape
Uh,
tomorrow. Or not tomorrow,
dude,
on Monday.
the Onshape is great. It's literally you can see I'm on a website. It's free and it's website based, so you don't actually have to download anything for it.
Hmm. How much does it cost?
Oh, it's free, like free.
Wait,
You only
you
have to
are you
pay.
shitting me? Why does nobody talk about Onshape?
I don't know. I try to tell everyone that that models whatever that getting into CAD or whatever. But yeah, it's literally $0. Like, I'll hop right here. Your free subscription only allows public data. So basically, the caveat with it being free is that if I make a file, anyone on Onshape can see that file, which for me isn't a big deal because I post my files for free anyways, most of them for free. But if I don't want it to be free, guess what? I'll download the file and then delete it, and then no, whatever. Now it's whatever, not on Onshape anymore.
Easy.
But, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't see why people don't the big reason people don't use it is it's as far as, like, an industrial program, it does not have really big industrial capabilities. So that's the big reason that it's not used, which, I get that, but for hobby level use, it's literally a godsend. Uh, Come on, let me move that circle. Centric to that. Okay.
Dude, thanks. I know I just hopped in the stream. I'm gonna hop out though. I'm like on my way to Kentucky.
Now you're
Um,
Oh, fun shit.
you guys have a good evening.
See, use that sweet path right there. Oh, right. So I forgot how you get it to move down. All right, so I'm just gonna move that circle over to the other side. Okay. And then I'll do a split to remove that excess overhang, which there really shouldn't have been. Oh, not use that. Surface to split it. Keep both sides. All right, now that's one thread, and I'll just add a little fillet to that bottom right there. And now that we have that, I'm just going to copy that in place, copy here, use that to that. Zero right there. And then merge that with that bottom part. Just that, that. And then we'll take that and that part right there. Again, choose subtract, choose that thread we made right there, subtract it, and actually it looks like we had a little blowout, so I'm going to change the diameter of that. And then now, as you can see, we've got that thread right there that goes into this part. right here. And with that rounded whatever that half circle of a thread, it shouldn't even need supports. So that should work pretty good. But yeah, I think that's about it for this one. You just hide those. And then a cool thing you can do is you can actually go into assembly, click insert, and then click that part that we made, bring that in. And then this lets you freely kind of move them around. So I can move this one up, take a look at that. You can even do section views in here. So I'll go through, turn on, like, let's say I want to split it from that face right there. Now I can see, you can see how all that is. Pretty cool for that.
Mic on.
If you want to export it as an STL or as 3MF or whatever, I normally do as a 3MF. You just go to export, name it whatever you want. So, in fact, I like to do a 3MF because that lets you export, the two parts as one file, but it has the two parts in there. And then, I always put like 1 and 1, and that gives you your that's just whatever the how many facets and whatever it exports as. So I was just doing 1 and 1 and export, and then it takes a minute to export. But then once it does that, you can load it into a slicer or whatever program or whatever you want. Well, yeah, I think that's about it for that.
Awesome. Thank you for showing us your whole process. I did have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
So just because we ran into the little screw issue with and Dominic's spearhead, so the steps for hollowing out and then adding like a screw, like it goes
So with and I imagine the file that you have, you could probably use that shell command, and well, y'all are using a what? Did y'all model that in Blender, right?
yeah, but the object seems pretty like it
No,
is.
I mean, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
I was just wondering because what we could do is model up like the screws negative in CAD, and then either bring the blend file, the OBJ or STL or whatever into like the CAD program, or bring the export the like the negative of the screw into your CAD pro or into Blender, and either subtract it either which way from that, which I've done before. So like let's say uh what's a good way to do this? Well, I'll just do a test for thread. So sketch. I'll just make a cylinder right here. Put it up. Then I'll do that helix command. That looks pretty good for like a TPI or whatever. Actually, let's dimension this just for shits and giggles. Over the top. That's the dimension. Let's do 3-inch diameter or something. So extrude that up, add that, then go through. And I like to, I didn't say this before because I didn't think about it, but I like to pick to make the shape of my thread at that point, the point where the helix meets. So either up here or it also meets right here.
Mhm.
Just go through, make it a sketch. In this case, I'm just going to do that same half circle threading feature. So I'll just do that one at 1/4 of an inch. Let's do a sweep. Click that profile. Sweep path is going to be that helix. You can also go down to this curves and just click the curve. And then remove. Well, actually, in this case, we're going to want to do an additive. because you're going to be subtracting that from that model. And then I like to split it from that face. Split, keep both sides. Choose that side. Do the same thing from the bottom. And what this is going to do, when you do that split, if you subtract it, that's going to provide a little bit more of an opening so that when you thread, it's not trying to catch just a little point. It gives it a little bit more of an area to catch when you're starting that thread. Splits, faces. And then what you could do is you could either export this, and this is a pretty beefy thread. I would probably not do exactly what I'd like the dimensions and all that. I'd probably go through and try to figure something out. But then you could go through and either export this and bring it into Blender and then subtract it from whatever the spearhead, or you can bring the spearhead into this. And what you would do for that is create, import, and then import files, and then you can grab whatever file you want. And I think you can bring in STLs and stuff. And then you just go, let me try to remember, thread, and I think you can do, how would you do that? Oh, if you bring a file in, what you can do is you can, let's see, I know I have a file that I brought in somewhere. That's got one place. Yeah, so you'll have a folder called CAD imports. Dude, you'll just so you can go over here and you can see this is a grip for an airsoft gun that I reverse engineered. You can see it brings that in that model. And you've got all these lines because it doesn't recognize it as like a CAD file. But what you can do is go through how did I'm trying to remember import. I think it's imports.
Was it like a converter for STLs?
There's not. So I know Fusion has an option to like convert an STL into a like go through and add features to it. So like if you choose a surface, it'll go through and add that as a face or whatever. I don't think this has it. However, you still can like directly interact. So like if I created a sketch real quick and went through and wanted to add another hole here, I could add a hole and then extrude it into that. I'm just going to fix that one.
It doesn't cause it.
I can still go through and it's not like in that remove because I have the radius right on the edge, but if I modify that circle a little bit smaller, it should work. Yeah, so you can modify them, whatever, like add and subtract and add features to it, but you just can't like I see how I can't click I can't click any of these hard edges except for the ones that I've made. So I can't. I couldn't go through and like click an edge and give it a radius, unfortunately.
What happens if you?
For STL?
Sorry. What happens if you extrude?
If you extrude, I'll just go through and instead of doing a remove, I'll just do an add. It just adds. So it'll just add. You'll see it. It just add whatever. It adds that feature to it. And now that feature that you extruded, it acts. You can do whatever. Like I could go through and add a radius on that edge. So what I basically did on this part is I went through and kind of reverse engineered it, redid or made it a little more beefier. I don't even think I have the airsoft gun I made this grip for, but the grip worked good. I was trying to reverse engineer that Picatinny rail, but you would basically do the same thing like if you were to import in the spearhead. I mean, you can go through and actually let me do new for this. You would go through and you would move that, like let's say this is that cylinder is the threading thing that I made a minute ago. You can go through and move that around to center it how you want to. Now obviously you're not gonna be able to get it directly like concentric with the diameter of the spear head, but you could zoom in and do. Actually, I mean, what I would do is for it is go through and make like when you import it in, I would make a sketch of it, and then kind of like with it using what's called a 3-point circle, you can go through and choose 3 points. So like I'm gonna zoom in. Well, I'm gonna zoom in all the way right here and choose, just to try to get it. I'm gonna choose that point right there, and then zoom out, choose that point right here, and then go over here, choose right there, and now you can see. Now let's see if I extrude that sketch. Oh, I'll just do that. You can see that.
Oh, it fits almost perfectly.
That's a pretty, yeah. So that's what I would. So I would do that, but then what you can do is once you have that sketch that gives you this point in the middle, what you can use to then make that threading tool that we made, you can use to make that concentric with your spearhead.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Is there anything
Mic
beginners
off.
should know, like any presets or settings that will just make things a lot easier if you know about them when you
Easier.
start?
Setting wise, there's really not a whole lot of settings to mess around with. I mean, really, it's just like getting familiar with with what all these different icons do, and a lot of them will say, like, if you hover over extrude, it says create, add, subtract, or intersect. Sweep. Some of these bigger one, yeah, no, that one says it. Some of them you do have to search for. I really can't think off the top of my head one that I've searched for that I use on any regular basis at all.
Okay.
Honestly, like most of these with uh like offsetting surfaces and all this stuff with like sheet metal, like these tools up in this corner for sheet metal, have never touched those before. Honestly, I could probably remove them, but I mean, like the extrude command, revolve command, fillet, the shell I messed around with earlier. Oh wait, actually, holy shit, there's a coal. Oh wait, never mind. I was thinking this whole command had in most whole commands in like larger softwares like Fusion 360 and SolidWorks and whatever. That's the command that you use to add uh threading to, but it doesn't look like I thought this one doesn't have a threading preset tool for that. But I mean, yeah, a lot of these you'll use some of them. Bootlegging lets you combine body multiple parts together into one part. Uh, There's a few good tutorials out there for, like, if you've never used a CAD program before, just because obviously, there's always, the initial learning boundary for it, but once you start getting into it, it's just like messing around. Like, I think I still have the first thing I ever modeled. Let's see if I can go down. Uh, but that was not it. Oh, recently created, that's why. Let's see here, scrolls. I think it was, like, some lightsaber or something. Was not that. Uh, I recently opened it. What was it? Dang it. Oh, I think it was this. And I know this looks kinda complicated, but it's literally like 4 it's like extrusions and then a hollow. Like, you could see, uh let's hide most of the parts. But it's literally like you look at this bottom here, I traced that shape, extruded it, added a fillet on the corner or a radius on the corners, and then and then went through and just offset everything. Like, you can see this whole section right here is just this top plate extruded up. It's literally just a combination of extrudes and fillets, which is a that's like 90% of what I do is just extrusions and fillets. So once you just get familiar with like moving stuff around or whatever, not moving stuff around, but most of what I do is like 90% eyeballing. So, okay, because even though my what I do at work is like always like you don't touch a thing without having a number to put in. When I go through and model up props or whatever, most of the time it's literally just eyeballing stuff compared to like bringing in a reference photo. Because like when we did this, everything is literally just going through and making a sketch and tracing all of these shapes on here and doing that, and then extruding them in different shapes and fashions.
I missed, like, the first 30 minutes. I don't know if I missed that, during that time,
Yeah,
but
you probably did. I mean, literally the first the first 30 minutes is everything up to like right now. Right when I started doing the threading or something, I think that's but really it was mostly like let me roll back here.
so my question is, when I insert an image to start sketching, how will I know, like, what sizing to be, like, what the proportions are gonna
So
be? Is that
when
set
you're
in
initially
that first 30 minutes?
when you
Did I miss that?
you didn't when you initially bring in an image, you do not. What you can do, and what I should have done is can go through, insert an image, grab a line, grab top to bottom, go through, measure that line. All right, this is 4 inches tall. The reason I didn't is because I had already started modeling this like a couple weeks ago or something, and I knew that image that I brought in was about the size that I wanted the thing to be. Like 4 inches, that's about how big the grenade is. It's a pretty chunky grenade.
Mhm.
But you can do that, and then once you have that, click enter to lock that in. But then you can go up here. Where is it? No, it's not transform. Oh, when you insert an image, you can grab the top. Well, actually, you have to lock one point. You have to lock one point in. So I'll grab that concentric and just lock it into that point right there. But then you can grab a corner and why? Oh, that's why. Okay, when you lock it in, you want to actually lock it in on this grid, not on a random line that I drew. But then you can go and grab it and move it up and down to how you want. A lot of the times what I'll do is I'll bring the image in, I'll model like 90% of the prop up, then I'll scale the actual prop up and add and that's when I'll add like holes for dowels and stuff that I actually need measurements for just so that I don't whatever, because 'cause I'm a lazy bastard and don't feel like doing this stuff at the beginning. Like, when I did actually, I can pull up the eruptor that I modeled. Where is it? Right here, and I'll go back let's see here. I'll go back oh gosh, when was that I think that transforms right here, but I'll pull that back. Nope, a little further than that. Or was it? Okay, well, I can open up the initial sketch that I originally modeled 90% of it up at that size. Then I went through and did when you wanna scale up an object, what you can do is you can go through and, click that transform and go to scale, and that allows you, you can go select however many objects you wanna scale up, and then just click a point. Normally, I click the origin. And then you can go through and either scale it at a uniform scale or scale each like axis at an individual scale, which is that's handy sometimes. But I'll go through and like take a measurement. What exactly what I did was with this is I went through and I grabbed the measurement of this right there, which is showing up at 4 inches. Originally, it was probably like an inch and a half or something like that, and I went through and I looked at game models and kinda like I have a big TV, so what I did is I brought an image from the game of a guy holding the eruptor, scaled the image to be the how big m like, to see how big my hand was compared to the whatever the, gun on the eruptor, and then got a tape measure out and measured that distance, and then I just went through and made whatever, did the math, what was that, 1.7 and then let's say I measured it at like 4 and 3/4. So then I divided the 4 3/4 by the 1.75, and that's what I came up for that scale dimension. And I mean, that's exactly what you would do, even just if you're scaling the image up. You know, figure out approximately how big you want that thing to be, and then scale the image up, whatever that dimension, whatever that number ends up being. If
Okay, gotcha.
yeah, I mean, I a lot of what I do is not necessarily how a lot of people do it. I mean, I know most people who do like professional prop making, you know, they'll do stuff in Blender rather than CAD programs and stuff. But I went to school for CAD, so you know, I'm familiar with CAD programs. So
Yeah, thank
I
you. I really
personally think the
appreciate it.
CAD program. Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Glad that I can show you all this.
Mic on. Mic off. Mic on.